Hi, I'm Janet Ayers and Jim Steele from the General's Quarters Restaurant in the Locust Grove Town Center. And we proudly support TV18, and we love Life Around the Lake.
Hello and welcome to Art for Life. I'm your host, Pete Brown, and in this series we're going to explore art. We're going to learn about painting, making studio paintings, and creating pieces of art, not just copy photographs. Pablo Picasso once said, "Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain one once we grow up." All of you have probably one time or another decorated your refrigerator with artwork, gave you a great sense of pride. I want to help you try to recapture that. Now, there are as many painters as there are, or many ways to paint as there are painters. The goal of this series is not to get you to paint like me, but to paint a better version of yourself. Paint like a better version of yourself, finding your voice in painting. We'll work with beginning, intermediate painters, and finally advanced stuff. Hang around, stick around, and we'll learn together. First, a little review. The first problem we have with painting is trying to create a 3D image on a 2D surface. So we must use value to find form. So today's first demonstration is this, egg. I have a little egg here, and you can see it's just white and some shadows. We're trying to find light and shadow. From where I'm standing, I see this shadow of the egg and some various tones here. I've got those drawn up on this chart for expediency's sake. I'm going to point them out to you. First is the light side of that, or highlight. So number one would be this area. And these little highlights right here and here, those are on the apex of the form, or the concave. The second is the body tone. That is the main color of an object. We'll demonstrate this in a moment with paint and colors on a different object. But number two would be there, our body tone. Number three would be our body shadow. That's this area right through here. So three is here and here. Number four, something odd we sometimes overlook, reflected light. This egg is bouncing light. The table bounces light back up into the shadow, and this thin line right here is called reflected light. So number four is our reflected light right there. And finally, the fifth tone is our cast shadow. Cast shadows will be the darkest part of our piece. They're the most visible, most dark right under the form, and then they kind of fade out into the background. They get fuzzy around the edges. So this is our basic values that we need to find form. Value is basically the lightness or darkness of an object. It is 1 through 10 typically expressed in a chart of various shades of darkness and lightness, 5 being the middle tone. So value scale can sometimes be helpful for us when looking at the values. On this particular thing, our darkest dark is a 10, our mid-tone here, the body tone is about a 5, and the 1 on the highlights, etc. So value is how we can make form on a 2D surface to make it appear to be 3D. Next, I'll show you a little exercise and demonstrate that live. Let me flip this over. You're going to grab a coffee cup right here. Same process. If I were to draw this most instinctively, if I say draw the coffee cup, we would do a little coffee cup. Something like this. That's what we do. And I'll put a saucer with it. So that's how we would draw, that's how we remember drawing a coffee cup. the piece looks very flat because there's nothing to tell us anything but the outline. Now, if we begin to add light and shadow. So first, let's put our body shadow so we know on that tone. We've got our body tone in here. Our highlights are going to be up in here. Anything that's white. We've got a cast shadow here under this. And we've got a cast shadow under the plate. And starting to take a little bit of shape. We've got a little bit of shadow on the inside of the handle, body shadow. Inside of the top of the cup we see some shadow as well. So it starts to look a little more realistic, but we can even do more. If we lose some of this edge, you'll hear me refer sometimes to lost and found edges. We can start to make it look even more alive. A little bit of white chalk to highlight it, the highlights, some of the white here. Now let's get this shadow out here a little more. And it looks a little more, but there's even more we can do. It still looks kind of flat and funky. If we can lose one side or the other, we can either lose into the shadows or we can lose it into the light. To lose this into the shadows, I can enhance this piece a lot simply by bringing shadows all over here. This whole area in the background is shadowed, and if I lose it here, I can enhance the light side. So we've got the light side enhanced here, and we're kind of finding the light side here. I've lost it in the shadow. If I reverse that, I can enhance the shadow, and I can lose the light, lose some of it into the light, and create the same type of thing. Either way, if I enhance the shadow, I've found it in the shadow here, got this as our cast shadow darkened here. So the shadow side is visible, but I've loosened and lost some of the light side. Either way works. The whole purpose is to not have a flattened out piece. So, my name is Pete. If I do this, something simple, I don't know. Your eye will make that say Pete. Your brain assembles the picture because it knows you struggle to find order in things. If I complete it, that's easy enough. But if you leave it incomplete, the same with these drawings, same in your paintings, incomplete pictures makes your brain look at it. It creates interest, and you try to find order where there is none. So it assembles the painting for you. Okay, next I'm going to set up a small demonstration of the same principle and do that in color with some paint. Okay, so now I want to show you a basic palette. In just a moment, we're going to demonstrate what we did with the charcoal with colors. First, I want to talk to you quickly about palette and color mixing. In a basic palette, you want to use a limited palette, a limited amount of colors. I've laid out here the paints I have, a cool and warm version of each color. The three primaries, the blue, yellow, reds. The secondary colors are made from mixing these. That would be red and yellow would make orange, yellow and blue would make a green, and blue and red would make a violet. That are our secondary colors. And then the tertiary colors are secondary colors mixed with a prime color. And then I have four earth colors I've laid out over here. Burnt sienna, raw umber, and burnt umber. These are earth tones. A little bit of these mixed into these will soften those colors. We never want to paint with colors straight out of the tube. We always need to do some mixing. On our color wheel, we talk about complementary colors. I'll show you an example of that in a moment. Our colors, a little bit of across the color wheel, red mixed with a green. I'm going to grab that, excuse me for 1 second. There we go. On a 12-point color wheel, our three primary colors, the red, the yellow, and the blue. Red, yellow, blue. Across directly from each of these, the complementary color of a red is a green. If we mix a tiny bit of green into a red, it will soften that color. The complement of blue is orange, a secondary color. So our primaries, the complements are the secondaries across. For right now, I'm going to mix a color for these oranges that I'm going to paint for you. So I'll turn this around so I can see it. So if I take a little bit of a yellow, this warmer yellow, a tiny bit of red into that, I should get an orangish color. We've got some oranges over there that I'm going to try to paint. So I want to try to match this color. So I've got it here. All right, so orange, the complement of orange is blue. If I want to dull that down a little bit, I'm going to take a tiny bit of this blue and roll into it. And it should dull it down a little bit. Not quite the orange I'm looking for. Add a little more yellow. A little more red. A little more yellow. And that's pretty close to what I'm looking for. I'll lighten that for the light side with a little yellow. Now to make my body shadow on that orange, I'm going to put a little more blue on this side. So I've got a color chain. I turned it almost green, but now when I go to paint these on the orange, it'll look like I want it to look. While I'm at it, I've got a tomato over there. Just make this even more difficult. We'll want a red tomato. We'll want a little bit of a green to go with that, so a little of this. We use a lot of paper towels when we paint. Take some yellow, a little bit of blue, make a green. I'll take a little of that green, soften that red, and I'll have a tomato. All right, so here's my orange, here's my tomato. Let's see how those work. Alrighty, when I paint, I want to use the biggest brush possible. First I told you I was going to demonstrate what we did before, so we're going to do that now with these oranges and tomatoes. So here's my tomato right here, dark side, really dark. Here's my orange right here. Basically doing a quick black and white sketch of these things, extremely dark, because that's the way I've done this. This is simply a piece of practice paper here that I've done. I'm going to take some white now, lighten that dark mixture just to get the body tone of our tomato. Body tone of our oranges here. They're basically a tonal black and white sketch at this point. We'll add some color in just a moment. So I've got my three fruits here. Which one is in front of the other? Yeah, the painting is dying. All right, it's very simple there. Now for we need something that resembles a saucer, so we'll put some saucer color here. This thing isn't cooperating well. We're just going to get some color. Again, all I'm doing here is showing you how to use the tones, colors, to create the effects of 3D on a 2D surface. So that represents our saucer as that dries. So I've got an underpainting now, a tonal underpainting of tomato and two oranges. Now let's put some color to them. First I'm going to start with my body tone on this orange, our star here in the front. So we get some orange color in there. If this dries, it's easier to do, but I'm just trying to get it done for you. So we'll put some orange color in there, some body tone on that one, a little body tone on this one. Now we got to get the darker side that I did. This is going to be our shadow side. So we're going to put some of that darker, turn kind of greenish over here. It resembles the oranges that we have sitting there. I'll want to find a light side of that orange. I'm going to put some real light color on the front side of it. And our tomato, let's just get him kind of colored in, just again to show what the colors drug over and underpainting and using the value to find the form. We want this to look like it's round, three-dimensional. Okay, starting to look a little like an orange. Let's put a little more color in it here. Now, if this is the best I can paint, you're going to wonder why you're watching this, but this is simply a demonstration of how to find form using values. When we refer to value in colors, we call them hues. So in this case, the same things we have. Let me show you, let me put a highlight on this now. So we've got our light side, our mid-tone, our body tone. I have not yet put our cast shadows, but I'm going to go ahead and stick a highlight on this orange where I'm seeing it here. These little dabs of white. So I need some sort of a shadow color. So I'm going to mix right now a quick violet to use for shadows. In this case, I've got a shadow of this front orange hitting this guy. I've got a cast shadow down here under it. I've got a little cast shadow under the saucer that I can see. And if I really want to get fancy with this, I can put some more shadow on these things. I'll put some of this violet shadow color on the body for that one, on the body of this one, and even drag a little more over the tomato to knock it back a bit. It's not the star, it's trying to be. So I want my orange to be the star, let's make it the star. A little more orange paint here in the body shadow side. Blend that in over here a little bit. That one, cut that back out. Shape it up. Shape it up with more dark, this dark paint under this orange will make that happen. If I just come this way, shape that. Whoops. And that is a demonstration of how to make shapes using values and tones. I hope that is helpful. In a moment we'll set up for a painting of something that is a little more refined. Okay, welcome back. Now today we're going to do a demo painting of these sunflowers. I'm working today with acrylic paint. Acrylic dries very fast, that's why I'm using it. The process is the same in oil or acrylic. They're just simply different drying times. What I've done thus far to prepare this canvas, I gessoed the canvas with a gray gesso. I mixed some black gesso, white, made a gray background. Then I toned it with some burnt sienna. I rolled up a paper towel, dipped it into paint like this, and rubbed it on like this. Up here, I just started painting the background. I'm going to be painting this as our subject area. So I've taken some white, dipped it into some raw sienna, made a sort of tan beigeish color, and I'm going to rub that into the canvas now. No particular pattern, no rhythm, no anything, just kind of covering some of the canvas area where the background where the flowers are going to be over top of. So here's that, here's this, rub some beige into it, make it some color, some yellow. We have a violet vase which is going to work very nicely with our yellow flowers and this beigeish background because complementary colors, yellow is a complement of violet. I don't know. I'm going to act like this is a rounded table instead of a square table because that's what I want to do right now. So we can do this quicker. We make this look like a table here. A little of this, a little of that. I'm mixing on the palette. I'm using earth tones, umber, and some umber, and a little bit of raw sienna, just something to resemble a wooden table because this is the hurry we're in. So we're going to make our table here around it. I don't know, like a curio type table you might have in your home. I have one in mind, that's why I know what they look like. And we're not worried about exactness here. In this beginning, all we're doing is trying to get some color on the canvas. We've now prepared a background. Surprisingly, the most important aspect of any painting is the background. It's not the subject itself. So keep that in mind, that your subject is the last thing you want to put in. You don't want to create a halo effect. Draw something so perfectly, so detailed, and then try to put background around it and it has that halo effect. It never works. All right, so I'm going to sketch this in now. I'm going to use, again, an earth tone here, a little, I don't know, some little dark color lightly. So I'm going to kind of put in where I want everything to go. Before I do that, I'm going to divide my canvas into thirds. 1/3 this way, 1/3 this way. Where those lines intersect, here, 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 and here, are hot spots where the area of interest will be highest. We never want to put a subject right in the middle of the page. If we do, we divide the piece in half and we kill all the interest. So we're going to try to put it offset one side or the other. Since I want to show the shadows that are here, I'm going to put our subject matter over here and let the shadows fall against the wall on this side. So let's get started on that. Let's kind of sketch in where we're going with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is figure out where I want these. I want everything kind of, this is my subject area. This flower facing me is a star, and these, unfortunately, are the chorus girls. They can't be stars. So we're going to put this one here. Here's our first flower, sunflower, star, kind of looking at us. I'm going to scrub it in. That's where it's going to go. No detail, nothing more than that right now. So it's got to have a stalk coming down somewhere. It's going to go into this vase. We're going to figure it out a little better there. Nothing too fancy here. We're going to put our other little flower back there somewhere. Looking a little forlorn. I can barely see a little bit of its face there. And the one in the background I can't see at all as far as, you know, which way it's facing. But that's going there. This guy's going over here. And it probably needs some sort of a stem too. So we're going to pull it back this way. That'll be green eventually, I guess. Into our vase. This guy's going to be back there somewhere. And he'll be in our vase. So let's put our vase in here. I'm going to just shadow it in lightly with a darker color. If I create our vase here, around, then we're going to make this. It doesn't have to be that vase, but it has to be a vase. And since this one is rather opaque, I'm not going to worry too much about painting all the stems in it. If I'm painting glass, I have to put everything that's behind the glass first and then try the glass. This is glass, but it's an opaque glass, so we're going to treat it as such. So just something here to indicate the shape of that. Oh, I've got a purple in here now, a purple vase, and I'll have purplish shadows, so I've got to tone that down a bit. Let's do that. Let's do this. Violet. Some violet color back here in this glass. And some violet color here for the shape of this thing, whatever it is, this sort of vasey thingy. We're going right over the dark that we put down as our outline because we're not seeing through this opaque glass. So we're going to make it look like glass somehow in a moment when we put some, we'll put some highlights on it to make it reflect. So we're establishing the shapes just like we did with the oranges, just like we did with the coffee cup, to kind of show form. Toward the light side over here, I'll have that lighter. The middle will be our body tone right through here. It'll have somewhat of the dark. I'll make my brush strokes vertical to align with those ridges. Although I'm not really concerned with the ridges on this particular piece today, it's simply a demonstration how to go about a painting. So we got that in there. That's too dark. Throw a little light in it, lighten it up. We'll bring our stems back over that. We placed our stems just to know where they're going. We'll have this, have some highlight along that apex later. And again, just kind of get that, so it's some color in it. Let's brighten it so we can see it at least. When we refer to tones, that's values in our colors. We also refer to tints. Tint is adding white. Shade is adding gray, or black rather. Tone is adding gray. So what I've done now, I've added a little mixed black here. I never paint with two black. I always mix black out of burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. The reason is we want our shadows, we want our darks to have color in it and create color harmony. Now that is supposed to be black. It's not a very good one, but in a hurry, this is what we get. So we're going to do this. We're going to cast our shadow of this now. From where I'm sitting, I see a shadow line here, and it runs up the wall. If I were to turn out all of the overhead lights, I would see a very pronounced shadow there. So I'm going to put that in as I see it. So there's shadow behind the vase up to the table. So the shadow of the vase, then I've got shadows of these flowers that are going up the wall. Why am I bothering with that now? Well, I want to know where they're going. So I see shadows here. I'll see shadows back here from that flower. And I'll see shadows running off the page. And again, like I did with the coffee cup, I want to lose some of this right into the shadow. So I'm going to, where that table line is, I don't want to see it. I want to make it some of my chocolate into the peanut butter, some of the peanut butter into the chocolate. So I'm losing the edge of this, and I'm going to probably lose some of the edges of these things over here. Let's get some color on these stems first, so we know where they're going. Okay, we're going to put some green into there. Just quick. These are quick sketches today, not really overly thought out, done paintings, but I'll make one for you before this series is over. We'll do some of those. We're going to make some leaf shapes, just really quick. No need to over worry with these. We just want to get something loose. We don't want to try to draw this, be tedious with it. Just kind of form those shapes. If we form the shapes, your eye will tell you that's a leaf. No matter how I draw it, if I just make it somewhat leaf shaped, your eye is going to say, oh, a leaf. That's why we keep it loose. We don't try to be too detailed, particularly in these early stages here on this painting. We're just going to try to do that. Now this one is in front of the back one, so I'm going to put a lighter green there just to show that it's in front. So I'll highlight it a little bit with on the light side here so it shows up a little better. A little yellow into that green. This leaf, get a little highlight here, a little here, bring some other color into it. I've dulled it because I've got some red in there, but our stems on this side are highlighted. I think we need one more leaf down here kind of overlapping this lovely vase, and perhaps one going out the other way here behind there. Kind of comes down in there too. So we've got some leaves in there just very quickly. This is just a sketch of what the things can be like. I've got some red now. I'm going to dull with a little burnt sienna to create this middle of these flowers because I want them kind of reddish where I put those things. This little secondary chorus girl doesn't like to be the chorus girl, but she is. All right, so we got that. I'm going to get a different brush here. What I got to do now is start to create some designs on the petals of this. So let's do that real quick. In fact, at first I'm going to do a couple of them. They're going to be yellowish and orangish. You'll hear a lot of ish out of me because we want variety in our colors. We don't want them all homogenized. So let's see. Let's start with a brush on the back ones. If we put them in the back first, we're going to use this color. We're going to make some petals on this poor lone chorus girl back here. This all we're going to see are some. Through this series, we'll show you some better paintings than this. This is just our starting one today for demonstration purposes. We'll work on full-fledged studio paintings that'll show you how to take one from start to finish Right now I'm just trying to quickly show you looseness and how to go about setting up a painting. I'm going to lighten now to go over top of this stuff, the foreground. Just quick. Nothing tedious, nothing too fancy. Just let the colors mold into each other. I'll come back and put some leaf stuff under that, some leaf shapes. Give this a little color on this side. Yeah. Okay, you deserve a little bit. Okay, chorus girl. And now, the main one that's facing us, we'll put those in as well. Just kind of brushing it here. In a moment I'll switch over to a palette knife. Just lay it on thicker. So in our first stages of a painting, our stuff is thin. We want thin paint. We don't want a lot of detail in the beginning, as you just saw. Just really rough shapes, no particular, no detail. It wouldn't make any sense because you're going to cover most of it anyway. So here I'm going to start pulling some out, some up and in. The petals are just random kind of. And so, okay, so what we'll do in a moment, on our next session, we'll pick back up on this painting. For right now, I thank you for joining us on Art for Life. I hope you'll make art a part of your life and enjoy painting for the rest of your life. Thank you.
This is the crew from the Flower Cottage. We are excited to support TV 18. We love life around the lake.